the sky is falling, I must go to cash. And it's like, no, everything is fine. Just turn off the news and go do your hobby or whatever.
TrumpAccounts.gov, and the Treasury will give you $1,000. And by you, it's your child.
4-year education is more vulnerable than tradesmen. And so I'm a huge fan.
If the child gets the free $1,000 and then the parents add $5,000 a year until they're 18, it's some astronomical number.
Most of us would look back and say, well, at 18, I'm not sure I was ready to receive 10 or 20 or however many thousands of dollars.
Welcome to the latest version of the FMI podcast. We are effectively changing the title of this to Through the Noise, which will actually correspond with our monthly newsletter. David, good morning.
Morning.
Can you give us an update of why we went through a lot of titles and a lot of different discussions, and we settled on Through the Noise? Want to give an explanation of why we like that?
Well, there's always a lot of noise out there, whether it's social media or the news, and most of it's just noise. And the best thing to do as an investor, as you go through life, is to have a plan and to work that plan and not be distracted by all the noise. You and I both have encountered if there's a dip in the market or something, and certain of our clients will call us and we can hear CNBC or some news in the background, and they're like, oh no, the sky is falling, I must go to cash. And it's like, no, everything is fine. Just turn off the news and go do your hobby or whatever. But the best thing to do is just have a plan and then work that plan.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that description. So on today's topic, we have at least one new baby in the office, one employee with a baby. We have the gentleman who's kind of running this podcast with a baby on the way. And they thought that we should talk about funding for children. Not a topic that we talk about a whole lot. So let me ask it to you in this way. You're the resident expert. They have a child. What are the best savings vehicles and some of the pros and cons of each?
Well, that's a big topic, and there are many different choices. For most of our career, we have focused on college savings account under the Internal Revenue Code 529, and 529 plans came out in 1996, and when they did, there was a lot of fanfare around them and how great they are, and they are great. But that now that we've lived through them for 30 years. Wow, I'm old. We have found that it's not a panacea, and there are problems with it. And Congress has given us some band-aids to help with some of those problems. Problems meaning that kids decide not to go to college, or they get scholarships or grants and don't need the funds and things like that. But it's a great tool because parents or grandparents can invest money in a 529 plan. They don't get a tax deduction for it, although some states, including Virginia, do give a small tax deduction. But the monies grow tax-free as long as it's used for qualified expense. So that's typically the center point of discussions on kid accounts. But there are others, such as the old-fashioned UTMA account, Unified Trust and Minors Act account, and there's pluses and minuses there. But the new Trump accounts are new, and so there's a lot of discussion around them. And what do you think of those?
Nice. I was going to hold Trump accounts to the very end. So this is actually July 6th, July 7th. And so the Trump accounts just came out. So the Trump accounts are, if you have a child that was born from January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028, you can create an account, TrumpAccounts, plural.gov. Be careful of the websites. TrumpAccounts.gov, and the Treasury will give you $1,000. And by you, it's your child. So it's actually in your child's name. You have to go there. We can't do them. They grow tax deferred. The child can get it, I think, the month before they turn 18, effectively get it. Parents can add up to $5,000 a year into the child's name or the child's account. And there's all kinds of calculations online as to how much that can possibly grow to. I just recently read that it's our President Trump's alternative to Social Security in the future. I don't know how true that is, but if the child gets the free $1,000 and then the parents add $5,000 a year until they're 18, it's some astronomical number when they get to age 65. They're in low-cost ETFs, exchange-traded funds, or low-cost mutual funds, and I don't think anybody has any control over it except for TrumpAccounts.gov. It's basic, and I think it's all only U.S. stocks that are within there. So, and again, it grows tax deferred. So once they turn 18, it becomes essentially a traditional IRA in the child's name, and then they control it.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
No, I think that's the highlight. And like you said, they just became active July 4th of 2026, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, a big deal. You can also, so you go online, you can also add it to your tax return starting on your 2025 tax return. And it's not surprising, Form 4547, because Trump was the 45th and 47th president. And so that's another way to activate the accounts for your child. But, you know, all of the different vehicles that are available, and we could talk about some more, all come down to the value of longevity, the value of being invested long term, because the compounding effect of interest and dividends and capital gains is your biggest ally in any kind of investment strategy. And so the Trump accounts do that. They encourage people to invest early at birth and then stay invested through retirement.
Time in the markets.
Time in the market.
Time in the markets. I like it. All right, so let's go back to the college savings, the 529 plans. It's always fun. You and I can be on different sides of things, and since I've known you until recently, they weren't always your favorite investment vehicle for kids. But the One Big Beautiful Bill came out a couple years ago, and as you said, added some band-aids to that. So can you talk specifically to any of those band-aids? Go ahead.
So a couple of them. One is that 529 plan funds can be used now for private K through 12 education. So that was a huge benefit. Alternatives to public education have gotten more popular, and people are struggling to try to fund that. And so 529 plan money is available. One Band-Aid that is near and dear to my heart is trade school. So not everybody is cut out for a traditional 4-year college or even a 2-year college or more, and they would rather do a trade school. And so 529 plan money can be used in most situations for trade school, as long as it is certificated and most of the time tied to an apprenticeship. So think welders, electricians, the things that our society needs more and more, particularly with getting into AI. And is AI, I think the traditional 4-year education, now I'm really off on a tangent here, but the 4-year education is more vulnerable than tradesmen. And so I'm a huge fan of trade education and technical schooling.
So if I have a student loan, can I use any of that money to pay back any of my student loans?
Yeah, it's one of those band-aids, as we've had over the years. You and I both know that we've had clients that have 529 plans and they want to apply. One of them actually did it without our advice and took money out of his 529 plan and ended up having to pay tax on it and a penalty because that was a prohibited transaction until one of these band-aids came through, Secure Act 2, that you now can pay down student debt up to $10,000, which is great.
I appreciate that. Okay. One of my favorite band-aids, I guess, for the One Big Beautiful Bill. What if I've got money left over?
Well, There's several parachutes there. One of the original parachutes was that you can transfer it to another family member. And so oftentimes we have, through the last 30 years, we have transferred 529 plan accounts from one child to another, sibling to sibling. And in a couple of cases, we've actually transferred to the parent, and the parent's gone back to school and used the funds. But Secure Act 2, the biggest bonus there was that you can transfer your 529 plan money, which is pre-tax, to a Roth IRA. Mm-hmm. And there's certain limitations. You basically have to be a 10-foot albino and walk on your hands to get it, but it's not that bad. But at 30, you can transfer monies to a Roth IRA, and then it's tax-free forever under certain circumstances. So it's a great parachute. That's one of the best ones that Congress has given us.
So just to clarify a couple things, a 529 plan, there's an owner, which is usually either the parent or the grandparent. And then the beneficiary is the child that's going to school. So you can change that beneficiary. Again, whoever owns it can change the beneficiary at their discretion. But if they want to, they can transfer after 15 years. After 15 years, that beneficiary can start converting that 529 plan, if there's money still in there, to a Roth IRA, as long as they have earned income up to, I think the total is $35,000. So that is a nice addition to a 529 plan. So when a child is 1 year old or younger, you don't know if that child's going to go to school. So that's a nice benefit to add. Okay, I think we've exhausted 529 plans. What other investment vehicles are there for children? When I was a child, my parents opened up at the local credit union. I just had a checking account, and there was money in there, and it was in my name and my social. Is that still a viable option today?
Yes, I alluded to earlier, the UTMA account, Unified Trust Managed Act account, and that is it is fine, and the account is secured by the child's Social Security number, and that causes any interest, dividends, and capital gains to be taxed to the child, which is also okay. But it's something to, when you're doing your tax planning, it's certainly something to be cognizant of, whether that's a good thing or not a good thing because of the kiddie tax. But another downside, or is it, and that is statutorily, the account becomes the child's account when the child becomes of majority age, whatever that. In Virginia, that's 18. Most states are 18, but not all. And so automatically, the child has full control over that account when they turn 18. And that may or may not be a good thing. Most of us would look back and say, well, at 18, I'm not sure I was ready to receive 10 or 20 or however many thousands of dollars. And so that's probably the biggest negative. But it is an easy way to do it. You just have to know what you're getting into. One other style account is not take advantage of any of these things, and so there are benefits to this. So if you don't like to be hamstrung by the 529 plan rules or the UTMA rules, you can just open a regular investment account in your name, the parent's name, or the grandparent, or the uncle, or whomever, and just keep it in your name. And know that is for that particular child. And we do this often. And that does a number of things. On the UTMA account, the child has to know that they have the account because they have to pay tax on that income. If you keep the account in your name, the child never has to know about it. And you can change your mind. If the child goes rogue, you can decide to wait to give it to them. You can decide never to give it to them. And it's a little bit of internal record keeping that you have to have. Now, why did I have this account? Oh, that was for, Mary Jane or whomever. But it is, that way you have complete control and you don't have any of these tax negative attributes associated with it.
And so two things with that, I agree. We've used that a decent amount. We would add the child as the beneficiary, just to kind of classify or earmark it as a TOD, transfer on death. Also, if you maintain control, or if the parent maintains control, you reserve the right later to add that money to a 529 plan or to put it in an UTMA.
Yes.
But again, you maintain control.
Yeah.
So there's one other vehicle that you have used a lot, and I've used some. Back to saving for college. The parent wants to save for college, still don't know if the kid's going to go to college, doesn't want to do the 529 plan. So there's one other vehicle we've used a decent amount, and it's a Roth IRA. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Roths are wonderful. Back to time in the market, and so if someone can invest in a Roth IRA and consistently max that out throughout their career, they end up with a whole boatload of money that is completely tax-free. So it is the best tax-efficient vehicle. And so you can do the same thing with the Roth in two forms. One is if the child has earned income, you can open up an account for the child and it's in their name, and then they can use it for college. But also the parent can, if they can, there's certain just gross income limitations, but if they can fund a Roth IRA in their name and the child gets to college age, the parent can pull money out of a Roth IRA. That's one of the exceptions to having to wait till 59 and a half. You can take money out for higher education, first-time home buyer, and things like that. So education is one of those exceptions.
So you just hit on something that I kind of forgot about. And that's funding a Roth IRA for a minor. So we do a lot of bookkeeping, we do a lot of taxes and small business planning. Can you talk to that a little bit?
If a person has a business, they can pay their child. If they have just a sole proprietorship, Schedule C, they can pay the child up to whatever the standard deduction is for that particular year. And there is no Social Security tax that has to be paid on that, and no federal income tax because they're below the standard deduction. And so that gives the child wages, and then the child can fund a Roth IRA. But even if you use a small business uses my favorite business structure, which is an S corporation, they would have to put the child on payroll. They do have to pay Social Security tax, both sides of that, but still that's 15.3%. And if the parents are in a higher tax bracket than that, then that's still efficient. But more to the point, it gives the child income to be able to contribute to a Roth IRA or even a traditional IRA if that's what they choose to do. So yeah, it's a powerful tool.
That's a great tool. Okay, I don't think I have any other questions. Actually, one. Can you do 529 plans? Can we offer 529 plans here? We
do. And in the state of Virginia, it's mandated by the state that we do it through College Fund of America. And we certainly have access to that. And we like for us to do it because we have certain portfolios that we've built that are better than what the models are. But in all states, we can do 529 plans here, and it's just part of what we do as a full holistic financial planning firm.
I appreciate that. Anything else you'd like to share with the audience today?
I don't think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day.
The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Prior to investing in a 529 plan, investors should consider whether the investor's or designated beneficiary's home state offers any state tax or other state benefits such as financial aid, scholarship funds, and protection from creditors that are only available for investments in such state's qualified tuition program. Withdrawals used for qualified expenses are federally tax-free. Tax treatment at the state level may vary. Please consult with your tax advisor before investing. Trump accounts offer tax-deferred growth on earnings. Family contributions are made with after-tax dollars, and eligible employer contributions may be excluded from the employee's taxable income. A one-time $1,000 federal contribution may be available for eligible children born between 2025 and 2028. Distributions are generally prohibited during the child's growth period and, once permitted, are taxable as ordinary income and may be subject to a 10% IRS early distribution penalty if taken before age 59 and a half. Contribution limits and other restrictions apply, and some rules remain subject to future Treasury and IRS guidance. Consult a qualified tax advisor or financial professional before making decisions. A Roth IRA offers tax deferral on any earnings in the account. Qualified withdrawals of earnings from the account are tax-free. Withdrawals of earnings prior to age 59.5 or prior to the account being opened for 5 years, whichever is later, may result in a 10% IRS penalty tax. Limitations and restrictions may apply. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.